Good morning. This is Anna T. Bellum for Abolition News Network, December 15, 1838. We have just learned that the prestigious Catholic University in Georgetown, Maryland, owned by Jesuit priests, have secretly sold off 272 African slaves from their plantations in Maryland to the Deep South. The ships left for the port at New Orleans on December 6th. Here to tell us why the university had to sell their slaves is the president of Georgetown, Reverend Thomas Mulledy. Welcome.
Good morning.
Reverend Mulledy, here is last Sunday's New York Times. It says on the front page that you sold 272 slaves. It reads, "The human cargo was loaded on ships at a bustling wharf in the nation's capital, destined for the plantations of the Deep South. Some slaves pleaded for rosaries as they were rounded up praying for deliverance. But on this day, in the fall of 1838, no one was spared, not the 2-month-old baby and her mother, not the field hands, not the shoemaker, and not Cornelius Hawkins, who was about 13 years old when he was forced on board."
Well, Ms. Bellum, it's nothing personal. We have to secure the future of our premier Catholic institution of higher learning. The college's survival is at stake. Mismanaged and inefficient, the Maryland plantations no longer offer a reliable source of income for the college founded in 1789. I think the slave drivers and overseers were slack. The college would not survive, I fear, without an influx of cold cash.
Well, that does kind of sound impersonal, but do you have to raise money through the sale of slaves? Isn't there something more appropriate to education that can be sold that has broad appeal to the wealthy Catholic community?
Well, Ms. Bellum, let's be realistic. Here in Georgetown, slavery and scholarships are inextricably linked. Do you believe in the good book?
No thanks.
The college relies on Jesuit plantations, worked by slaves, to finance its superior academic reputation and the chairmanships of the high-quality departments of learning. Slaves are often donated by prosperous parishioners. This sale I helped organize will put about $3.3 million in our coffers.
And from the sale of human beings. So how did you organize your slave traffic?
It was relatively simple. In June of this year, I negotiated a deal with Henry Johnson, a member of the House of Representatives, and Jesse Beatty, a wealthy landowner from Louisiana, to sell them all. So on December 6th, they set sail on the Catherine Jackson and other slave ships for New Orleans. You see, the Catholic Church does not view slaveholding as immoral.
Okay, but what does that have to do with your brand of Christianity or worship of God?
Well, I promised my superiors in Rome that the slaves would be allowed to continue to practice their religion and that they would be put on plantations located near the Catholic Church. Now, with everyone happy, I could take a down payment from the sale and use it to pay off debts and operation expenses that the college incurred under my leadership.
I see. So was there anybody that was opposed to the slave trade initiated by the Catholic Church or yourself?
Well, again, Ms. Bellum, I need to ask you to be realistic about slaves. Jesuits have sold off individual slaves before. As early as the 1780s, they openly discussed the need to cull their stock of human beings. But the decision to sell off virtually all of their slaves left some priests deeply troubled. But they were outnumbered. The sale was perfectly legal. Here's a bill of sale. Bill of sale dated June 19, 1838. Thomas F. Mulledy sells to Jesse Beatty and Henry Johnson 272 Negroes to wit, and it outlined a payment plan with discounts if the slaves turned out to be more infirm than described.
I think I've heard enough. Your whole operation from your plantations in the South shows total disregard for the poor enslaved Africans who are forced into illiteracy because the law prohibits them from learning to read and write. But then, you tell them that they can go to church and pray if they can walk that far. I totally condemn you and will report you to the Pope.
You wouldn't dare. I'm the president of one of the most revered Catholic institutions in America.
And the most despicable defender of the slave trade. Have you heard of Josiah Wedgwood, the founder of Wedgwood China? He created this medallion in 1787. It was a symbol of the Committee of the Abolition of the Slave Trade. It shows a noble slave kneeling in chains. It represents justice, humanity, and freedom. Am I not a man and a brother? And you are also in violation of Matthew 22 through 39, love thy neighbor as thyself.
Can I offer you a libation?
No. I wrote the Vatican police, and I'm having him recalled and reassigned. Get him out of here.
Coming with me. Oh, my glasses. That's it.
That's what I said.
Well, I guess that concludes the sale of slaves by the Catholic Church hand. This is Anna T. Bellum for Abolition News Network, saying the commandments in Matthew are laws. Even if you are a Jesuit priest, you have to obey them. And good morning.